Well, in breaking news out of the US, a California judge has delayed Lyle and Eric Menendez's sentencing. The brothers now expected to wait at least 2 months until their hearing. A press conference has just been held outside the courthouse. Take a listen.
The judge has now set January 30th and 31st as the days for a plenary or fulsome hearing on the resentencing. He has also invoked what's called AB 600, so he has jurisdiction under that section as well, which is California law. He's going to and has heard and will ask for further briefing, and by January 30th or 31st, we're hoping that by the end of that or sometime sooner that we will in fact get the brothers released.
Incoming Los Angeles District Attorney Nathan Hawkman joins us now. Thank you so much for your time. You're a busy man. Congratulations also on your appointment. You've got a lot on your plate. So, Nathan, the outgoing DA wanted them resentenced and paroled immediately. What's your stand?
So there's actually 3 tracks going on in the Menendez case. There's something called a habeas petition, and that's dealing with new evidence. It was filed in May of 2023. And it says that this new evidence is so compelling that the Menendezes should be entitled to a new trial because the original trial over 30 years ago was flawed. The second track is something called clemency. That's where a governor, in this case of the state of California, can on his own decide any point in which he is the governor, and the current governor Newsom has been there since 2017, he can decide to grant clemency and release the Menendez brothers. Then there's a third track, and it's called resentencing. That says that we're going to potentially resentence someone from life without the possibility to parole to life with the possibility of parole. The current recommendation by the old DA is 50 years to life. If that gets granted by the court, then it goes to a parole board. If the parole board grants it, it goes back to Governor Newsom's desk. He gets 120 days to either agree or disagree with it. If he agrees with it, at that point, the Menendezes would be freed.
To jump through. Look, this was a heinous crime. Anybody who was around at the time will remember it. I'm sure you do. And they still have pretty strong feelings about it. Is the new evidence, in your view, enough to change the results here?
See, the new evidence has to be contrasted against the entire trial record. One of the reasons I've asked for additional time is that requires a review for myself of thousands of pages from 2 months-long trials in order to make that assessment as to where the new evidence fits in and if it truly undermines the faith in the verdict. I come into office on December 3rd. This will be a high priority once I enter office. I will conduct this thorough review of the facts and the law and then go into court and render a decision and then be able to defend that decision as well.
I mean, it's only Australia you're talking to here. Give us a little indication on what your thinking is.
Well, let's just put it this way. It would be a disservice to both the Menendez brothers, the victim family members, and the public for me to speculate where I'm going to end up.
I understand.
I haven't seen the Netflix documentary or the limited series, but that is the tip of the iceberg of the evidence, and then you have to apply the law at that point.
You've got plenty on your plate coming in with law and order in general. Is the media attention in this case rushing the course of justice?
You know, it's not rushing the course. Every case deserves the level of media attention, quite honestly, that the Menendezes have been given. And I hope actually that this actually sparks the public's interest to get more involved in criminal justice decisions. But this case, like every case I will deal with, we'll get that thorough review, then we'll be in court and we'll be able to defend that decision.
Really good to talk to you. I appreciate you spending some time with the Today Show in Australia, and best of luck with it.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Welcome back. In breaking news out of the US this morning, Eric and Lyle Menendez will have to wait at least another 2 months until they're resentenced. A California judge delaying the brothers' hearing until late January.
Yeah, to discuss this, bringing in legal affairs journalist Megan Cuni in Los Angeles. Megan, great to see you again. So the outgoing DA, we knew this was sort of a political thing for this DA as well. They wanted them resentenced and paroled immediately. What's happened to that?
Yes, there was a hearing today where the judge has said he'd like to take some time to really review this. And also with the big political change that's coming up, there's another reason to delay it. It's December 2nd. We have a new district attorney who's taking power here in Los Angeles County. And he said that he's going to review this case. He hasn't said one way or the other what he's going to do. But of course, he has the power to take this recommendation back, and that could be pretty weighty with the judge if that did happen. So I think the judge is wanting to see if that happens, along with wanting to take the time to really review everything in front of him.
Okay, so it's now rescheduled for January 30, as you say, 2025. So do you see this delay helping their cause or hurting it?
I'm not sure I would say either way. I don't think it's great for them that they have a new DA that's coming in. I think they would be in a better situation if the DA who was really on board with this and had made the recommendation had been reelected, but he wasn't. So it is a big question for them of what is the new DA going to do and how is that going to affect the recommendation. So I would say that this is overall not good news for them, but there are a lot of people in the DA's office that have some questions about how this was handled, is my understanding, and are even planning on opposing this. So I think everyone's just kind of waiting to see how that shapes up.
Okay, well, let's say that the DA looks positively on this and wants the judge to look at the case again. Then the brothers want their lawyers to get their conviction lessened from that first-degree murder to voluntary manslaughter. So if that happens, considering they've spent all this time in prison, how soon could they be up for parole?
And I think that Gascon, the current DA's recommendation, was not quite for voluntary manslaughter, but it would allow them to be eligible for parole immediately. So then it's just a question of what is the process like before the parole board? It goes to a completely different entity other than this judge who could approve the resentencing. They could schedule something within a couple months. It just depends on them, but then the ball would be in their court, and then of course Governor Gavin Newsom would be the final say on that if the parole board does want them released.
Well, the world is certainly watching this case. Megan, we appreciate your insights on it. Thank you.
Welcome back. It's the legal case turned hit Netflix show that is taking the world by storm. Now the Menendez brothers could walk free 35 years after murdering their parents.
A court hearing is underway right now as new evidence is presented to a judge. For more, we are joined by celebrity attorney Chris Melcher at the courthouse in LA. Chris, thanks so much for your time. There is so much interest in this hearing and the outcome of this case. It must be pretty tense there right now.
Well, there is. There's a contingent of media here, a lot of public interest following this story based on the Netflix special and another docu-series about it. And a lot of divided opinion also in Los Angeles, especially people who, like myself, were around when the crimes were committed, kind of different views than on some of the younger generation, thinking that they should just be let free immediately.
It is interesting from a legal perspective when you weigh all that up, given what you saw at the time and how heinous the crime was, and then this new evidence. Where does it stand legally at this point?
Well, there's three avenues that they're seeking to be released. One is new evidence that they supposedly uncovered that they think justify a new trial. Another thing that they're approaching is a resentencing. Right now, they're not eligible for parole or release, so they're asking to be resentenced so that they can go before the parole board and be released. And the third one is clemency, where they're asking the governor of California just to let them out. These first two matters are what are being heard, at least initially today, in this courtroom in Los Angeles.
I guess long term, Chris, how compelling do you think this new evidence is, and how likely is the outcome to change?
I don't believe the new evidence will justify a new trial, because they admittedly killed their parents and there was no immediate threat to their safety when they did so. So they don't have a right of self-defense. They're really saying that they had some kind of excuse that warranted a lesser conviction. So I don't believe that this new evidence would give them a new trial. At most, it would give them potentially the right to get out on parole. And they have been in for over 30 years. They haven't committed crimes before killing their parents. They haven't had problems in prison. So I think there's a decent chance that the court would allow them to apply for parole.
All right, and that could be some time away.
Yeah, probably next year.
All right. Good to talk to you. Thanks for your expertise.
Hey there, Today fans. Sarah and
What's my name again?
Oh my goodness. Carl?
Hey, thanks for watching our YouTube channel, though. Subscribe now for more news, special reports, and amazing Aussie stories.
And Carl misbehaving,
Whoa,
of course.
that never happens.
Always happens.
What's she talking about?